I am a failed entrepreneur. And you know what? I'm okay with that. Because quitting my startup was the best decision I could ever have done in my life. Honestly, I didn't want to quit it. My parents had told me, listen, you need to quit this shit. And because I'm such an obedient son, I know dad if you're watching this, but because I'm such an obedient son, I decided to quit that shit. And trust me, I'm so grateful I did. I'm so grateful I made that decision, and I can't imagine what would have happened if I didn't do it. In this video, I'm going to tell you the story of my startup, how it failed, why I quit, and why quitting at the right time is the most important thing. So around 2021 end, I decided, maybe I should have a startup. At this point of time in the crypto industry, everybody was making very large amounts of money with very little effort. People were raising millions of dollars for startups that just were a pitch deck with no team, anonymous team, etc., etc. And I thought, maybe I should get on this hype train. I did, raised about $2 million at a 16 million valuation. Imagine having a 16 million valuation straight out of college with just a pitch deck, right? So at this point of time, I'm thinking I'm on the top of the world. I am already invited to give talks at various colleges. Binance invites me to give a talk. A lot of big companies invite me to give a talk. I've come on TV 2 times, etc., etc. And at this point of time, my identity is my startup. I'm the startup guy. My college gives me an award because of whatever, and I really feel like I'm a legend and I've done something great, right? But honestly, this startup never had revenue and would never have revenue the way it was going, and I knew this at that point of time. The only thing is, I was so scared of giving it up. Things started getting messed up. My employees all quit, and then it was just because I was a bad manager and a pathetic leader, and I truly did not have the maturity to lead such a big team and manage so much money. That being said, I still went at it, one attempt after another attempt, pivot after pivot, and just, keep going at it and just not quitting. I remember this interesting story. So I was pitching an investor my idea. This was after we'd already raised some funds. I was pitching my investor an idea, and at this time I was pitching it, Luna and Terra, whatever happened, right? And basically a stablecoin lost its peg, so people lost very large amounts of money, including this investor. So while I'm pitching, he's looking at his phone and he's seeing that he's lost like $100,000 during my pitch. So he still committed some money, he still gave me the money, but it was definitely like a blow to him as well. And then at this point of time, my father said, listen, you need to quit this shit now, things are going to get really bad. And at first I was like, yo, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm this guy, I've made so much money, blah, blah, blah. I've raised all this and I have all these investors. Yeah. He said, just quit it. So I quit it. It was really a hard emotional decision for me. In fact, I was in denial for like a week. For a week, I said, no, I should get back. I should do it. And the last employee who was left in the startup, I kind of stretched him for another 1 month just because I was so reluctant to let everything go, but I quit it. And as soon as I quit it, the FTX fiasco kind of happened. And if I had not quit it and, whatever, given back the money, the entire FTX fiasco would have come onto me and I would have lost a lot of money. And after that, some VC funds started collapsing and the whole crypto industry started collapsing as a whole. Now, I'm not saying that I was some super genius or that my father was some super genius that he predicted that the market would crash and he quit. Maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. The point is that the point when you realize when your startup is not going to be successful is the point where you quit. And taking the loss requires a large amount of emotional maturity. I'm not saying I had it because I didn't deal with it well. I colored my hair half pink and half green, but it definitely took a large emotional toll on me. Let me tell you another story. So I know this guy from my college. He's like 2 years my senior, and he, after graduating, he started a startup. Now it was a pretty basic startup. I like the idea, honestly. Good guys, they're really solid. They know what they're doing. And however, after like 3 years, they're still not making any money. They're still living in a small apartment in Bombay, and they're still running their startup, making some small amounts of money, but just sustaining their livelihood maybe. And I keep telling my friends that these guys should really stop. And the reason they're not stopping is because they have this reputation that they have to uphold, right? In college, they were the guys. Just like I was the guy, but I'm no longer. But just like I had kind of got that status, so did they. And they came in like few newspapers and on TV and stuff like that. And I keep trying to like tell people that you need to quit while you're ahead. If you quit while you're ahead, you can't lose, and you just need to be so willing to drop stuff. It doesn't matter if it's your relationship, it doesn't matter if it's your startup, it doesn't matter whatever it is, unless it's college. Now with college, I have different opinions. I feel you should not quit college till as long as you can like physically tolerate it. The mindset of never giving up and never quitting is great. And I'm not telling you to go into a startup with the assumption of quitting it. When you start a startup, you need to have the mindset that this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. But if at some point you realize it's not going to work, quit it and move on. In the end, see, when you're not quitting, it depends on what you're not quitting at. So either you decide you're not quitting at your startup, or you decide you're not quitting at yourself. And essentially, not quitting at your startup is quitting at yourself, because if you know your startup is going to fail and you keep fighting, you're basically giving up on yourself. Like, you're like, I'm just going to fight a losing battle over and over again. Yes, there are some examples where things looked really bad and things worked out. And yes, those are the best stories to hear. But sometimes it is super obvious that things are not going to work out. There is not one ray of hope. And at those points of time, it's best to quit.